This is some of the things that the Trust has done, and there's a point. We have a lot of new members. There's a point to all this also. But there'll be, this was written a couple of weeks ago. There'll be no USNs, no TRNs, no cryptocurrencies. We have vast quantities of funds, digital and physical assets available for every country, all contained within the Manor World Holding Trust. The Trust, who paid the last three American budgets, I might add, otherwise this country would have already been bankrupt. The IMF threatening 134 countries this month to ditch their currencies and switch to crypto. That will be blocked. The IMF are bankrupt anyway, and why is because they owe the Trust 180 trillion alone. That's just the IMF. The Trust hand-delivered declaring American sovereignty to Mr. Trump on January the 27th, 2018, and yet we wait for it to be implemented. The Trust blocked the Fed from trading or using US dollars on American soil. The Trust also revoked the Fed's license as it had expired. The Trust also paid off the American debt to the Fed of 196 trillion last week, as the Trust owns the Fed, as it was pledged to the Trust years ago. No money changed hands, as essentially the Trust wiped the debt. So the 21 trillion debt is officially not owed anymore. The Trust is working to get back all American military hardware sold to a Chinese group, not the government, and military are currently leasing it back from them. This was to keep the military funded, as the treasury was being looted by the Rothschilds and have had no funds for years. Military is waiting for the RV payout from the Rothschilds' Chinese elders, which they are incapable of paying. It would require a down payment, not the full, a down payment, 10%, of $4.25 quadrillion. That's 15 zeros. Just to start the RV. They don't have the assets to support floating 4.25 quadrillion. It's actually impossible. Trust gave money to Trump for the wall last year. The Rothschilds raided the treasury and stole all that money. The Trust, who controls the quantum system, which now has control of every bank, was able to locate the stolen funds and draw it back into the Trust. The Trust did the same this year, when the IRS sent $780 billion to a Swiss Rothschild's bank account for all of our collected taxes. Trust located it and put it all back into the Trust for later disbursement to the countries and the people. The Trust closed down the official UN last year, collected all the rogue funds the UN collected fraudulently from participating countries, gave all the funds back to the stolen countries. All the funds stolen back to the countries, sorry. The Trust has spoken to or worked with all top officials in each country over the last 18 to 24 months, and many are ready to work with the Trust and ditch the Rothschilds' Chinese elders, who ran the Trust previously but were cut off in 2007, and this is what brought in the global recession. The reason being is the elites only had money they looted from the Trust. The Trust owns every piece of land, all in-ground and above-ground resources and assets, all banks, including central, and all buildings, as everything was put into the Trust as collateral and subsequently pledged to the Trust, as they never paid back the liens. And so subsequently the Trust owns everything. The Trust has told the world we will return all funds and assets owed to each country. Then the rest of the funds will be split 50 for the countries and 50% to the people via projects. The Trust agreed a deal directly with President Trump 2 weeks ago for the Trust to give America $105 billion to run the disaster relief program for Florida, Georgia, Alabama, North and South Carolina, and also California, as FEMA has no money. The $105 billion was a gift out of the Trust. Trump agreed the deal and instructed the Treasury to issue cards with which the trust would then load up to the tune of $105 billion. When Hillary Clinton and Mr. Mnuchin, backed by security forces known as Citadel, stormed the Treasury building and removed our ambassador and blocked the funding of the disaster relief programme. I can say a lot more on this. The above is just the overview, surface view. For further details, contact me at truthhonourandintegrity@gmail.com, and I will expand on things or listen to the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. That was posted on the Greg Hunter page twice. It's now 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he ignored it. Some of those details alone are worth the show, whether they think it's real or it's not, but he ignored it. So Mr. Hunter looks like he's another paid operative that avoids the full truth, just gives it to people in sound bites of political intrigue like Catherine Austin Fitts. They don't want to know the truth. The reality is it has no bearing, the political intrigue of what's really going on, and the majority of it is portal people distraction theatre. You would think a so-called journalistic show like Greg Hunter would have been interested in at least some of that. Apparently not.